high level, let's explain the blockchain. And I said to you, can you explain it? Because it's one of those things, like we get what it is, but to explain it simply can be confusing.
Sure.
So like all good content creators,
you went to the AI.
I went to the AI and
they did a pretty good job.
It was pretty good. I said to AI, can you explain the blockchain like you would to a 10-year-old? And I just think it's really important to note, Nick, that when we talk about crypto, that means Bitcoin, that means Solana, that it's the whole thing. It could be Trump coin, it could be, I don't know, all the wild
everything from
rubbish.
The good coins to Bitcoin to the worst, as you just mentioned. Yeah.
So we say crypto, we mean everything. Sometimes people say Bitcoin and they do mean everything, but that's kind of not really a purist thing.
Cryptocurrency on a ledger called the blockchain.
That's right. Now, Bitcoin is on its own ledger or its own blockchain.
Yep.
And I think before I'll read this and then I'll give some other practical examples, because I think once you understand the concepts, things, are a lot easier. Imagine you and your friends had a notebook where you write down every time someone trades Pokemon cards. Everyone has the same notebook. Instead of one person keeping track, everyone in the group has a copy of the notebook. So think traditional banks, right? There's a central bank and they hold the ledger for all transactions in and out.
You just made every crypto person mad by comparing a blockchain to a centralized bank. But anyway, keep going.
We're here now. So the second point, you can't erase old trades. So once a trade is on the notebook that everyone has, it can never be erased.
Permanent marker.
Public. And you can look at all this stuff publicly online. It stays forever. You can only add new ones to the blockchain. Point 3, everyone checks the trade is fair before it's added. If you say, I gave Jess a Pikachu for 2 Charizards, everyone looks to you to make sure you actually had the Pikachu to start with. If it's true, everyone writes down the same time that it was traded.
Sure.
If it's not true, no one adds it.
Yeah, that's part of the mining process.
Yep.
So when people are saying mining crypto, they're really confirming what the Pokemon transaction in this analogy is true. The miners, the computers that are set up within the network, are helping verify that's what's going on.
That's right. And the fourth point is no single person is the boss. No teacher or parent controls the notebook. The group keeps it honest by all agreeing together. So it's multiple parties verifying transactions. So one thing that we need to, when people say blockchain, you don't have to get tinfoil hat on and like, oh, it's risky and all that, because it's just the technology. And if you Google ASX blockchain, like the ASX in Australia spent millions of dollars trying to get its own internal blockchain system happening to verify share trades, but it was a disaster. But and this is where I think the technology is rock solid and the technology is very good. And I reckon companies like Ticketek and Ticketmaster, they actually need to operate tickets on a blockchain to stop fraud. And effectively, and we might get to it later, but that means you may have heard the name NFT, but forget that for now. But that means if I buy a ticket to Taylor Swift concert, I've got the original one. And if I want to sell it to someone, it can be verified by the blockchain that it is real.
Yeah. Notre Dame, the University of Notre Dame in Indiana, not in Paris. I forget if they actually did go through with it or not, but they had talked about putting the football tickets, which American football, big deal, college is crazy. Notre Dame probably has 80 to 90,000 people every Saturday going to their games. And so tickets are a hot item. My buddy's got season tickets there. He's got 2. And I think it was a couple years ago they had talked about creating all of those tickets as NFTs. So you had a digital thing, and then they'd probably print the ticket off as well. But even with the printed ticket, it had to match to the blockchain. The non-fungible token was going on there. So you had like a cool thing on your phone, and it was uncorruptible. You knew you had your ticket. The transfers would be easier. You cut out the middleman. You don't need Ticketmaster at that point.
No.
if everybody started using the blockchain.
Well, in theory, Notre Dame or whatever it is.
Indiana people say Notre Dame.
Yeah, so they would effectively write the contracts.
They would become Ticketmaster.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just throw them out to the blockchain.
Yep.
And then at the end of, once the game's finished, sure, you might hold that in your wallet, but it's dead.
Right. You'd have like an image of your favorite player or whatever is on there. But yeah.
So I think it's just really important to note that the technology that we're talking about, the blockchain, is 100% awesome, 100% solid.
Yeah, and that's one of the very few things that I actually agree with the current Trump administration in America, is that I don't think that by any means Donald Trump knows anything about the blockchain or how things work, but he's got smart people who are working with him, and they are actually talking about creating stablecoin legislation, which has recently passed, and they'll be using the Ethereum blockchain to put out these stablecoins. So basically every bank in America is going to have a digitized token, and that needs to happen. Like Robinhood is going off the charts right now, and I don't want to get distracted, but Robinhood's stock is skyrocketing. Looked like they were just going to be a meme coin. They kind of got in trouble a couple years ago for pushing people into GameStop and to AMC and stuff like that. But what they've done is they have tokenized the investment trades, and that is giving them a step above all the other brokers out there, because your trades are actually quicker, faster, and safer when you've tokenized it. So now the Trump administration is pushing a lot of the U.S. banks to actually start tokenizing their assets.
And I might just make a note, and we'll swing back around to you mentioned stablecoin, and we'll talk about that later. But once we understand the blockchain, it's a public ledger that verifies transactions and trades. It's then important to note that different cryptocurrencies sit on different blockchains. So, for example, Bitcoin has its own blockchain, and there's no other coins on it.
Bitcoin's basically its own thing. It's like people are referring Bitcoin as the gold standard. You know, you're buying gold as a safe haven. People are looking to Bitcoin, even though that might be a different kind of thought for a lot of listeners. Bitcoin as digital gold as a safe haven. And then a lot of the other cryptocurrencies and blockchains are new technologies, where Bitcoin is trying to compete as a fleet of safety, a safe asset, digital gold. Something like Ethereum is trying to create this technological blockchain that other coins can be built on. Solana is similar. They've created a blockchain that other coins can be built on. So some things are like a technology, where Bitcoin is trying to be like a lump of gold that you can pass around digitally.
Yeah, so the main kind of blockchains, you mentioned Solana, you mentioned Ethereum,
Avalanche.
Might be Avalanche, and there might be BNB. Or are they?
Actually, I don't know if BNB. I don't think BNB.
Binance, do they?
Binance has their own coin. I don't know if they have their own blockchain.
Right.
I don't mess with Binance all that much.
Yeah. Either way, there's a whole heap of different blockchains. And for example, if you wanted to make a meme coin, and we'll get into meme coins and whatnot, as you said, you could build it on the Solana network.
Yeah. Most of the meme coins out there are on Solana because it's very fast, it's easy, and it's probably cheap for the developers to get going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as meme coins go crazy, Solana should become more profitable.
Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.